The lifetime Florida fishing license. Is it really worth it? Do the numbers add up? Hi, I'm Joe Simons from Salt Strong, and I've heard a lot of debates, and I've seen some of the debates on some of the forums and some of the Facebook groups about these lifetime Florida fishing licenses. And this one in particular is mine. It's the Lifetime Gold Sportsman. And so I decided, instead of just debating about it and saying the pros and cons, let's actually go through with real numbers and show exactly why this does or does not add up in terms of numbers. So let's go on the computer and check it out real quick.
All right, let's dig right into these numbers. As you can see here, I have created an Excel spreadsheet, and this has quite a few tabs. You can't see them down here below, but I'm going to show you each one. I've got it, and I'm covering literally every type of age possible, and I'm going to show you how I can change some of these variables, including the age and when someone basically might die or have their last payment, and of course all the different fees. And so I'll just click below here. This is the 5 to 12-year-olds, which is a different cost. And then once you get past 13, there's a different cost. So I put a 35-year-old in here, and then I even have a 50-year-old in here as well. And then finally a conclusion. So let's go back to the 4 and under. And if you take anything away from this video, let it be this, and it's really revolving around kids. And I've got 2 young kids, actually both under 5 right now, and I'm about to take my daughter in to one of the offices there you have to go live and meet someone when you take in someone under age 5, because they obviously don't have a driver's license. And I'm going to take her in and get her one of these lifetime licenses. And the takeaway is, it is a complete no-brainer. And gosh, just imagine, depending on your age, think about when you were young, if your parents had invested in this for you. And you could see some of these numbers here for a one-time cost of a lifetime saltwater fishing license, $126. I mean, for a lot of us and married couples, that's just a couple dinners or a couple nights out in the town that we skip for a month or two. Or for you women, it's skipping buying shoes or a new purse or whatever it is. I mean, what an investment in your child and in just fishing in general. So let's go through what all these numbers mean first, so you know exactly what we're doing here. This, as I mentioned, is for the 4-year-old and under. They have their own prices if you're under 5 years old, and this really is the very best deal. I put a 4-year-old in here just because I do have a daughter that is 4, and it's kind of the maximum age before the prices go up. You can see here, these prices are the current prices as of February 24th, 2016 from the FWC website. So, and these are annual prices. So the annual cost of a saltwater fishing license is $17, and most people end up putting the snook permit here in Florida, so it's an extra $5 on top of the 17, and then a big chunk of people put the lobster permit as well, which is another $5. And just to make this analysis simple, all of the comparisons that I'm doing, this is the one-time cost of a lifetime license, and this is paid annually. I'm adding up all the things available with it just because that's what comes with any of the lifetime or the 5-year fishing licenses that are available from the FWC. So I'm just putting them all in here because that is normally what you get. Now, I do want to say that I'm going to do a video here in the future comparing like the 5-year and how that really adds up, and when it's best to get a 5-year versus a 1 or some of the other kind of hybrids. But for this analysis, I'm going to be comparing the lifetime cost versus paying annually for all of the things, including all the little permits and stuff. And I did it for freshwater, saltwater, and for hunting. You'll see I have them all listed out here, just because I know there's many of you that do multiple of these. And I'm gonna tell you why I personally got the lifetime Sportsman license that includes everything in here, just because it was a complete no-brainer, and that's what I've been saving up for my own daughter, the $400, which is, yes, it's certainly a lot of money, but when I show you the numbers on how much we would have had to pay, it's a huge, huge difference. So as I mentioned, these are all the current numbers. These are not going to change. The variables that can change are the current age and the last payment. Currently, if you hit 65 or older, or anything over 65, you don't have to legally have a fishing license here in Florida. There's a couple permits, a couple of these hunting permits in particular, that you have to have if you're over age 65, but you don't actually have to have the freshwater or the saltwater license. So I'm ending the last payment at 65. Keep in mind that the FWC has the right to change it, just like the government can change the ages on Social Security down the road. I'm not even trying to say that is going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did down the road. But for now, we're just going with the current rules that are in place as of February 24th, 2016. I also assume in all of these numbers here that there is zero inflation, that this $17 is going to be the same in 30, 40, 50 years from now, which you and I both know is not true. And a little bit of history on the prices of saltwater fishing licenses. From what I could find online, they started out at $2. And of course, that was many decades ago. And actually, in some counties, it was completely free. But it did start at $2, and now, of course, it's up to $17. We'll continue to see that number go up. How quickly, I don't know. I do have an inflation here, and then we'll talk about these two numbers in a second. I do have an inflation adjuster that I can change this number around, but I am going to put that in there just so you could see what even just a 1% inflation of this price per year would look like. So let's delve right into it. So right here, this is the one-time cost, as I mentioned, of the lifetime licenses. That's the saltwater, $126, freshwater is $126, hunting is $201, and the lifetime Sportsman, which includes every single one of these items, is $401. Now, what I've done here on the paid annually, that is how much it would cost this 4-year-old if they continue to keep paying these prices for the rest of their life, or AKA up until age 65 is how this is calculated. So talk about an investment in your child. If you can spend $126 today just for the saltwater one, they normally would have had to pay $1,600 over that time period, which is 61 years, 65 minus the 4. And of course, that's assuming that this price never, ever goes up. If it just went up by 1% per year as an average inflation, you're now talking at $3,022. So, I mean, gosh, what an amazing investment. And talk about just leaving a legacy, and talk about your kids thanking you. I know I would have thanked my parents had this been around when I was a youngster. Now, I do want to show this number because I took it out. As I mentioned, legally, you don't have to have a license over age 65. Same with under age 15 or 15 and younger. You don't legally have to have a license until you hit 16. A lot of kids do have them. And once again, they could change that rule at any time. So I did take out the 15 years and just assumed it would be free. So that $1,600 would really be $1,300. Now, you can see these numbers here. I'm not going to go into every single one, but look at the difference in the Sportsman license, which is why I'm doing it, because I assume my daughters are going to go freshwater fishing, which they're already doing, and saltwater, and possibly even doing some hunting and archery and other things like that. So if you can spend $400, and once again, I know it's a lot of money, and it is something you have to save up for and invest in, but my daughter would have had to pay over, her 61 years, $7,472 to get all of these over that same amount of time. And as I mentioned, that's assuming that these prices never change, which you and I know is probably impossible to happen. Now, take out the 15 years and it's still $6,000, but look at this, with just that 1% inflation, $13,000 that she would have had to pay. And if I go to 3% inflation, which is pretty high, I mean, look at that. It's a staggering number, $45,000 on a $400 investment. Let me take it back to 1% here. But I just wanted to show you how powerful this is and what an investment it is in the youngster. Now, I've put the break-even ages here, and that's basically just to show you how long your child would have to live before it truly is a good investment. And this assumes that these numbers stay stagnant and never change as well. So I have two different ages here. One is not taking out this 15. So if a 4-year-old lives basically 5 years, they've already broken even. Taking out the 15, assuming you were not going to have to pay for that anyways, they have to live to age 20. And you can see here, age 19 for that lifetime Sportsman license. So if my daughter makes it 4 more years, which God willing she does, and even to 19, it's an amazing investment. If she lives to 80 years old, it's an incredible investment. Not to mention just investing in Florida fishing and the future of fishing. So I hope that knocks it out for number 4, and I hope you all understand that this is just a complete no-brainer. Kids 4 and under, find a way to save up at least $126 and get them a lifetime license, they will be thanking you, and you'll be thanking yourself, so you don't have to keep paying for this as they continue to age. Now let's go to the 5 to 12-year-olds. As you can see here, these prices are all going to stay the same, so nothing changes there. I do have a 10-year-old in here. I went a little bit towards the middle there of the threshold of 5 to 12. And you'll see that these prices raised a little bit. So if you look back here, this is the 4-year-old, 126. Essentially, they got close to doubling in most cases here. So let's look at the paid annually. Assuming you have a 10-year-old, it's going to cost you $226 to get the lifetime saltwater. If they'd paid that annually, just that 17 and the 5 and the 5, assuming none of these prices ever went up, that's going to be $1,400, $1,485 that they would have had to pay all the way up to age 65. And keep in mind, these prices are assuming that even if they live to age 80, they're not going to have to buy a license again after age 65, even though that, of course, could change. Now, you'll see if you take out the 15, it gets a little bit lower, and then you'll see the inflation numbers here. And I'm going to have these in our blog on saltstrong.com. I'm going to have screenshots of all these so you can go see all the numbers and how I got those. And you'll see the break-even ages. You're in the same time. You're talking anywhere from 9 extra years they have to live, all the way up to 15 to 19 here in the freshwater. And the freshwater is a little bit higher, or looks a little bit less attractive, if you will, because they don't have any of these extra permits with them. Because as I mentioned, these are all including the annual permits that you could get. But I want to keep hitting this Sportsman license just because it's what I personally have and what I'm going to pay for my daughter. Yes, $700 is certainly a lot of money for a 10-year-old, but gosh, look how much money you would be saving them over their lifetime. And if you put just 1% inflation, I mean, I would gladly find a way to save $700 to save them $11,000 or possibly even more if inflation was higher, or if the FWC ever raises this number of 65. Let's move on to a 35-year-old. This is the age of my brother Luke, and both my brother Luke and I have both invested in this. And I have the Sportsman license because I've done a little bit more hunting, and Luke has a combination of the saltwater and the freshwater. Just because he has not hunted in many years, and just wasn't worth it to him to spend the $1,000. So these numbers are all the same. I got the same 65, and now I have a 35-year-old in here. And you can see these prices are a little bit higher than the 5 to 12-year-old. So the price is raised again once you hit the 13 years of age, and this is going to stay really the same all the way up to age 65. These numbers are going to be stagnant. So we can change this around and see what the numbers look like. But for now, we put a 35-year-old in there. Now you can see these numbers aren't as impressive just because you don't see 300 and thousands that you're saving here had I paid it annually. However, keep in mind, as an investment, if you're looking at it that way, wouldn't you gladly spend $300 to save an extra $500 over basically 30 years? And once again, that's assuming zero inflation and zero changes to any of these prices or any of these age brackets, etc. Once you start throwing a little bit of inflation in there, it gets up to 1,000, looks a little bit more hefty. Now, here's why I personally did the lifetime Sportsman license. It's $1,000. Which, yes, is certainly a lot of money, and I would be lying if I said it wasn't, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't painful to put that on my credit card the month that I bought it. But then again, I know I never have to pay any of these fees again, even if it's just a random day, and I go out turkey hunting or go out, shooting a crossbow with a friend, or just anything out there that needs a wildlife management permit. I mean, it's a ton of money that I'm saving over my lifetime. And once again, that's assuming that there's no increase in these prices, which there will be, guaranteed, and no changes to this last final payment. But you can see here over just, my brother and I, our lifetime here, these 30 years, that normally would have cost me $3,675 to get all of this stuff every year, and closer to $5,000 if there's just a 1% inflation rate. So now let's go to a 50-year-old. This is, I think, where a lot of the debate comes in. No one's really debating that it's a bad investment for a 4-year-old or even a 10-year-old or 12-year-old. It comes up to the 40s and 50s and maybe even 55. Hey, is this really a good investment? Let's look at the numbers here. So as I mentioned, the same cost here as I had for the 35-year-old for the annual licenses. And all these, of course, are going to stay the same. But keep in mind, you only have 15 years of paying for a license. So that's assuming that they don't ever raise this age. They're certainly not going to lower it, but that assumes they don't raise this as people continue to keep living longer and they need more funds, etc. So we got the 50-year-old in here. These numbers don't look as impressive. However, it's still a good cost savings, and if you have the money to invest in it, meaning you have $300 or $1,000, I mean, that's still over a 15-year period of time, almost getting close to doubling your money. You can see here where the break-even ages are. The only one that doesn't really make sense because it goes past that 65th birthday is to get a lifetime freshwater fishing license at age 50, because you can see here it's going to take to age 68 to really become a good investment, and 3 of those years would have been for free. So that one possibly is not the best investment at age 50, but the rest of them clearly are. That one, especially the Lifetime Sportsman, I mean, at 59 you've broken even, and once again with inflation, it's all the way up to $2,100 that you would have had to pay over this 15-year period of time. So let's go to the conclusion here. Kids, no-brainer. And by kids, I mean anyone really 16 or younger, anyone living at your home, it is a complete no-brainer. You can't even really argue how it's a bad idea, minus the fact of not having the money. But I really highly encourage all of you to make investment. I mean, just like getting a boat is not cheap, buying a kayak is not cheap. It's all things you have to save for, and same with your reels and your rods and all the tackle on the line. None of it is cheap, but we all save money for it because it's something that we love doing. So I highly encourage all of you to save money for this, to put some aside. And if for kids, if you're putting money aside for college, which I hope most of you are at least trying to, like myself, I'm not perfect at it every month by any means, but take a little bit off of that, or maybe skip one of those nights out in the town, or buying something frivolous that you don't need, and put it away for the kids. I mean, just what an investment in your children, and what an investment in something that you love, meaning fishing. Now, let's look at the break-even years, and this is after the kids. This is after really their 15th birthday. You can see that this is going to be pretty stagnant no matter what age you are after 16 and older. It takes 12 years to break even on a saltwater fishing license, 18 on a lifetime freshwater, 7 on the hunting because you have all those permits and stuff in that you get with the lifetime, and then 9 with the Lifetime Sportsman. You can see why I picked that one, just because it includes all of these things and it breaks it all down into 9 years. And me being in my mid-30s, it's a complete no-brainer to do it. I had to save money for it. Yes, $1,000, not cheap. But doggone, I'm going to be thanking myself when I'm 60 years old that I did that. And another little tidbit I will say, because we've been stopped by the Marine Patrol a couple times just on random checks, and they really do give you a little bit more respect. I think because you're kind of investing in them. When they see your lifetime card, they don't really hassle you and harass you and stuff like some people have said it's happened to them. I've had nothing but just like, oh, thank you so much, sure, and just not even really going through the boat like they normally would. I think they appreciate you investing in them and showing that card. So, of course, that's not the reason to buy it, but I will say that I have seen that time and time again anytime we show that lifetime card. Now, I do want to point out at age 60, it does end up being better to get the 5-year, just because you can see here none of these are 5 years or less. So once you hit age 60, it is better to get the 5-year license, unless by that time, if you're looking at this in the future and not today, they have raised prices significantly, or they've raised the age of 65 when you need a license, then that can make a change. But right now, currently, as everything is, once you hit age 60, it's better to go just get the 5-year license versus the lifetime or even the 1 year. And as I mentioned, we'll do a 5-year license breakdown in Florida here next. So hope that made sense. Hope you got something out of it, and fish on.
So I hope you now all know that it always makes sense to invest in a lifetime Florida fishing license. And I do want to state that I know not everyone can afford one of these, but if you can, please do it. It means that you support the future of fishing in Florida. It means you support fishing, of course. It means you support conservation. And gosh, if you can even get one for your kids and invest in their future, what an awesome thing. And I really believe, even if you're 80 years old, this can still make sense. You can't take the money with you, so you might as well invest in something that you love and you believe in, and you want to see the next generation benefit from. So go get yourself a Florida fishing license today. Check out all the different options on the lifetime versions. They have this lifetime gold Sportsman like me, which gives me lifetime access to everything from saltwater, freshwater, and hunting. And of course, they have all different types of versions and little hybrid models of different cards as well. And not to mention, you do get a super really cool card when you get a lifetime one. And you will get some extra respect when you ever do get pulled over from our wildlife people and the rangers and any kind of officers out there. They respect the fact that you're investing in them and you're investing in everything you see here behind me. So go get your card today and make sure to subscribe to our channel as well while you're here. Give us a like and go check out saltstrong.com and get in our newsletter as well. Fish on, pow!
There's something about the water that'll give you peace, all by yourself or with your family. Live salt strong and wear the line today.